see the Gnani coming up, and this is the Parayan of 2015. It's the 10th of September 2015 in the morning here, as our Gnani bows down to Lord Simandar, and now in front of Lord Shiva, Om Namah Shivaya, and in front of our Gnani Purush Dadashri. Jai Sachidanand, everyone. This is the first session of the Paryushan Parayan. Paryushan, a special session time during and this is in the Dadanagar Hall just outside Simandar city, behind the Trimandir. As the Gnani approaches Dada and Niruma, and now Ma Padmavati Devi, as we see nearly 7 to 10,000 people, maybe around 6 to 7,000 people here in the Dadanagar Hall, ready for the Parayan Paryushan of Aptavani 3, starting with chapter 8 on Sooz and Udaseenata. Everyone is asked to switch off their mobile phone or put it on a silent mode as we hear more Asim Jai Ho sound. Dada Bhagwan Asim Jai Ho. Eternal glory, boundless eternal glory to the eternal one within all. Boundless glory to the eternal one within all. Aptavani 3, the Parayan of Aptavani 3 began in December of 2014. And 7 chapters were covered, and now this is the chapter 8 on the topic of Sooz, Sooz or Sooz, Sooz, intuition, and Udaseenata. As we see our Gnani, and highest namaskars to our Gnani, and he is saying, Jai Sachidanand, I bow to the Eternal One who resides within each one of you with deepest devotion and oneness. Namaskar, namaskar, namaskar. Aptavani 3, a few pages are remaining. Let us do a detailed study of it, Parayan. This is the speech of Dada, Gnanvani, and it separates the soul and dissolves all ragdvesh, attachment, abhorrence, and illusory attachment, and increases the pragna shakti, the energy of the soul that liberates, and he has opened up all the internal state as it is at the exact line of demarcation between the self and the non-self. What is the self and what is the non-self as it is has been opened up with reference to the spirituality as well as with reference to relative interaction in material world. Those who used to come live in his satsang, these were recorded, and now it is available in the form of Aptavani 3. What he saw in his Gnan, in his knowledge, what he experienced, that's exactly how he has opened it up, and we read it and we listen to it, and this comes into our understanding. This that was in his experience comes into our understanding, and as we continue to understand this science, ultimately the last thing is we just want to attain who we really are, which the Amapura, the pure soul, and we want to be the pure soul and the self in this world. And then he was able to interact with the entire world by remaining as the S capital self through the five agnas. And he showed that it is possible to remain as the pure soul and complete the worldly interactions. These are all temporary adjustments. To know the temporary as temporary, to know the permanent as permanent, and to remain as a permanent, as the real one. And so this thing is, and so it allows us to remain in this state. So let us begin this study. The Gnani touches the book and then his heart, and then he is somebody's reading now. Aptavani 3, he's reading in Gujarati, volume 3, page 123, Gujarati, last paragraph, page 123. Sooz. What is Sooz? After Sooz, Bhav arises. This is on page 515. This entire chapter is on Sooz. There is beautiful. There are only 2 or 3 pages here, but in Aptavani 10, volume 1, there is a lot of details about Sooz. Yes, the natural gift, and then there is a Dadavani. March 1998, there is a Dadavani of 1998 on Sooz. Yes, knowledge is one part of Gnan. In the same way, Sooz, your intuition is also part of the soul. After Sooz arises the ego, the intent, and then from Sooz is one kind of a light in the natural development of a soul. If he's at 220 degrees, he sees whatever he sees, and at 240 he sees something else, and whatever he sees, he has a bow or a view, intent, and outlook at that level, and then the ego arises, and then the intellect arises. What, as he rises higher and higher, what in the samsaran path, in the path of liberation, as in the path of evolution, natural evolutionary path, samsaran mark, whatever he sees, that becomes his lighthouse, and that is the support of his life, whatever he sees. So, after Sooz, Bhav arises. Very few people in this world are aware in Sooz and aware in Bhav. Sooz and Bhav that are attained spontaneously and naturally, attained with very little effort, becomes the beacon of light. Bhav Jagruti, on the other hand, is considered awareness, Jagruti, and Bhav Jagruti means is awareness. Is anger good? No, it is wrong, you see. So anger, so to know that anger, pride, deceit, and greed is wrong, that means it is awareness. It's called awareness in Bhav. Some people do not even know that anger, pride, deceit, and greed is wrong, you see. And so in the same way, everybody knows that all of these things is wrong. So Sooz Jagruti means awareness of Sooz is, he says in 1928, 1929, when the cinemas came, then the Gnani says, what will happen when they'll watch all these movies? But then all of a sudden, he got a sudden light that he says, even this light of the negative movies that we see in the cinemas could be used for the positive use in Upyoga. And therefore, now we see through television, so many people are here in spirituality. They can understand Dadashri, Gnani Purush Dadashri, and so now hundreds of thousands are watching on television and internet, on websites, are studying this Parayan and are studying this Parayan. So they are studying this Parayan. We were not using our we were using our, so Gnani says we used to move through Sooz Jagruti, awareness. He was not using his ego. When ego is not doing it, then when ego is not in operation, then Sooz increases. And then Gnani Purush Dadashri had Sooz Jagruti even before 1958, even when the movies started coming out in the world. Entering into Bhav Jagruti is equivalent to the slight awakening a person who gets up from dream in sleep and takes a body stretch to get rid of the residual grogginess. What is the difference between Sooz and Pragnya? Dadashri says Pragnya is a permanent thing and Sooz keeps on changing. Sooz changes as one makes progress. Pragnya is a temporary permanent thing, whereas Pragnya will be present till the absolute state is attained, till the state of the Siddha is attained. It arises only after self-realization, whereas Sooz is a gift that arises at every mile on the samsaran path. However, Sooz which arises, Pragnya and Sooz. There is Agnya Shakti, which means the energy of ignorance, and then there is Pragnya Shakti, the energy of liberation. Through Agnya Shakti, anger, pride, deceit, and greed, attachment, abhorrence arises, whereas with the right belief, once the awareness of I am pure soul arises, then the Pragnya Shakti, the liberating energy of the self arises, and it continuously is in the process of taking the self to liberation. Therefore, Sooz is called temporary as permanent, whereas with absolute knowledge, then Pragna Shakti ends. And you see, Pragna is the direct light of the self without any veils, whereas Sooz is with a veil. From the Sooz arises ego, and then ego is the energy of ignorance, you see, but it does not allow the person to come out of the worldly life. However, the Sooz which arises, that two is not completely independent. The self is Paramatma. It does not show you what is right and what is wrong. Uh, when pap, karma, the, yes, and so if there is a very big light in a pot, then you see, no light will come out. However, if there is a tiny little hole is there, then what happens is then the light comes out of the soul through the pot. You see, and when the entire covering of the pot is broken, then absolute knowledge is there. That's called Keval Gnan. When there is this sin karma that is unfolding, then then the Sooz will also make him go in the wrong direction. That is a light that will also it is on the basis of the light he will be able to see the right and the wrong, but because there is a light, he goes in the wrong direction too. And when there is the unfolding of merit karma, then punya, then he takes the right use of the light. And when there is the unfolding of the sin karma, then he goes into the wrong use of the light of Sooz. Somebody is asking a question. So then, how does he see new things? We says it has been said that Sooz is a beacon light, like it's how is he is able to see nimitz, which says nimitz of kusang, which take him to a nightclub. Okay, and then he meets other nimitz, which says no. I mean nimitz who are spiritual, or who do not hurt other people. So from a 10th mile, he goes to the 11th mile, to the 12th mile, depending on which milestone he is. He gets different nimitz around him, good company, bad company. And so his own development is called upadan, his own spiritual development. And then he comes to the 22nd mile, and then at the 22nd milestone he says, no, I don't want this, I want this. So he's constantly rejecting or accepting that which is in front of him. He continues to get progressively more and more new experiences, and that is he's taking more and more new experiences. Question, she says. So uh, So with reference to Dadashri, he will say that he will look at the he will look at what the Gnanis and the Tirthankar Bhagwans would do. So in other words, he will constantly kind of check his vision and his Sooz through the vision of the Gnanis and the Tirthankars, rather than any kind of an intense personal physical hunger to enjoy, etc. There is a very big link. With which is a very big link of it. The intellect comes much later, the ego comes later. Behind intellect and ego is the intention, and behind the intention is the light of the self, which is coming even before self-realization. You see, and such a person is continuing to the person with the right kind of light will avoid any hurt to the others, right use of light. Ultimately, he and so and becomes progressively free from any veils of ignorance. Questioner is asking: is there a difference between samaj and Sooz? Samaj, understanding, is Sooz. Understanding or samaj is darshan or vision. It progresses all the way to keval darshan or absolute vision. When we make you understand it and it fits within you, you understand it, it means it comes into full samaj, vision or understanding for you. That means whatever I'm telling you, point to point, is understood exactly. That is considered Gaid Betty, or an understanding that is fitted in precision. Everyone's viewpoint is different, and so it is understood in different ways. The matter will fit according to one's energy of darshan Shakti. See, the matter will fit according. You see, depending upon his energy of understanding, he will be able to grasp. You see, questioner, when insight flashes and illuminates from within, Sooz arises. At that time, I cannot tell whether it is the Sooz working within or whether it is the ego. Page 125, Gujarati. Man is not able to take full benefit of Sooz because of the vibrations of the ego. Everyone continues to get illuminated by Sooz. Ignorance is ego. Now, from wrong belief, ego arises, and then I am Chandu, I am Nada, I am over, I am Unisi. You see, everyone continue, and so then he wants to have it his way through kashais. But the more he moves away from or kashais and comes to the zeroing of the ego, to less, progressively less ego. You see, in the karmic path, is of course, through anger, this step by step decrease in anger, pride, deceit, and greed. The ego decreases, and as the ego decreases, one proceeds in the direction of the soul. What is the difference between Ged and Sooz? She's asking. When Sooz increases, then it is called understanding. When it becomes exactly fitting, is correct. If he then it comes into the understand, and so he is into awareness. And then beyond the exact fitting is, then he says gum. So Ged, gum, Sooz, Samaj, Ged, and gum. Gum, Sooz, Samaj, Ged, and gum. These are all progressive levels of understanding. But don't worry about it. These are Gujarati words. And everyone continues to get illuminated. As the ego dissolves progressively, the Sooz keeps increasing. Scientists are able to see with Sooz. They cannot see with Gnan what they know. Sooz is a natural gift. The scientists who are brilliant, they can see automatically, and they open up through their knowledge and understanding beautifully without any ego. That is a natural gift. It will Sooz show somebody something wrong? Yes, sure. When ego and his intellect take over, then Sooz will show. The Sooz is the light. It will show both the positive and the negative. But then the ego intellect complex might take the person in the wrong direction depending upon the merit karma or the sin karma that is unfolding. And then he covers it up. You see, then when, so if he's supposing he takes the wrong path, then the ego and the intellect cover it up. But inside, the first echo is always there, where which says, no, this is wrong, better not get. But everybody else is cheating, so let me cheat too. And that is how, because that is what the world teaches you, what the lok sangnya, what the world teaches you, plus one's own intense beggary and greed for more worldly pleasures only. You see, in the light of the self in Sooz, one can see whether it is a dirty stain or a clean spot that is there. But what makes him move in the right direction depends upon a variety of factors. The most dominant one is whether or not the ego is in operation, and before and whether there is sin karma is there in operation, or whether there is punya karma in operation. He misuses money, borrows from somebody, and then lends it at higher interest rates. This is how it is. He takes money from somebody and then goes on lending it at higher interest rates. You see, Sooz is a very different thing, because Sooz is an inner light which allows you to solve a problem and a solution that is in front of you. It only happens if you listen to it. So, if he gets into the ego mode, then of course the intellect will take over, and then he will go into the relative world, and he may abuse the opportunity that is was initially flashing through his light, that is Sooz, because Sooz Sooz is always there. When Sooz allows a person to know what is my safe side, what is correct. But if he listens, was- in which direction Sooz will take a person? You see, one the person has to listen to the Sooz. You see, Sooz is always taking towards the soul, but one has to listen to the light of this Sooz. But you see, depending on his own hunger of worldly pleasures, lalach, or if he's under the influence of lok sangna, the worldly influences, uh, then he may go into the wrong direction. It says the scientists can see with Suj, they cannot see with Gnan, or they can. Scientists can see with Suj, but they cannot see with Gnan. Was a question from Dimple. You see, that is, but you see, in Gnan means to know. You see, to know means to experience. The Dadashri has called the Anubhav Gnan or the experiential Gnans, whereas but the one with experience will never the one with experience will be able to experience of the knowledge of the self will be able to solve anubhav means Suj is part of the understanding or darshan, and Gnan means anubhav. You see, Gnan means anubhav, means it means to know, to experience. You see, these poets can write very beautiful things, and the writers can write very beautiful things because of their Suj element. You see, and the scientists can describe very beautiful, but the experience of the soul. To say that there is something that is called Suj or Darshan, and then exactly to know what it is called Gnan. Uh, Very few people have that. When in the Dadavani, what is Suj Jagruti is now being discussed. Suj Jagruti, even a little puppy has Suj. Even a little puppy has a little intuition. Even the trees and the plants, they have Suj because they know in which way to turn for the light of the soul, the sun. Even the puppies know what to eat and what not to eat. You see, but human beings, they don't know what to eat. Even they eat that is 2 or 3 days old food that is left over. You see, but you see, a puppy will not touch old food. You see, so even a tree, it's a coconut. You see, a coconut tree will start in one way and then it will bend and then it will go in the direction of the sun. So you will have an S shaped coconut tree. So every living being has got Suj or the intuition, the intuitive light that takes it, that takes that soul forward on the path of evolution. The ant does not have any eyes, but you see, but they can communicate with different ants, and if they see a grain of sugar, they will all come together and take it away. They have a very beautiful way of communication. A bunch of ants can communicate, so they will automatically gather together. After, they cannot hear nor they see anything, and yet they can immediately come where there is some sugar lying, and they can smell, you see. And so by smelling, they can see. They will not take the trail of it, any other trail of any other ant. They will only take the trail of the ant of its own species. Sooz Jagruti is a very elevated thing. Dada says very few people have, and the Santo Mahanto, the saints have this. You see that, a saint will say, God will take care of you. He is gone. He's not saying it. He's not saying it through intellect. He's saying it through the heart. He'll say, God will bless you. God bless you, my son, a saint will say. Because he has got something coming from his internal state of the soul only, even if he is not awakened to the soul. He is able to see that. He'll say, yes, God will bless you. God bless you. You see, he is able to see that. It's called Sooz Jagruti. Okay, so another question coming. You have talked about Sooz Darshan and Kevad Darshan. Sooz is also there in ignorance also. And then when Darshan appears, Sooz is relative is called Sooz, and in the real, then it is called Darshan. You see, in the relative, the light of the self is called Sooz. In the real, the light of the self is called vision or understanding. You see, or Darshan. But the scientists are not awakened to the soul, but yet they have this ability to see. You see, I'm a poet. I can write beautiful songs and beautiful poetry. He is not enlightened, but he is able to have a higher vision. And the moment he becomes aware of who he is exactly, then he comes into darshan. Until he gets into darshan, it is called through the right darshan, through the right vision, then pragna shakti arises. Right vision means I am pure soul. Then pragna shakti arises, and when and through the samyak buddhi, the intellect that is going in the right direction, you see there is the Sooz only. But when it becomes kshayak buddhi, when otherwise intellect is gone, then the light of the self is there. Then it comes up. You see, then when he comes up, then he rises. When he goes beyond 85 milestone, then he meets certain limits. Krupadudev Srimad Rajchandra says that I was in the court in the satsang of my Lord Mahavir. Dadashri says I too was in the satsang of Gnanis. So Sooz is some kind of a Jagruti awareness, and when Nimit and then and Sooz leads to one's own level called Upadan, and then once he meets Gnani Nimits, he goes higher and higher. Yes, you see, if the lioness has got a few cubs and the little cubs and the lioness dies, then there will be nobody there to teach the little cubs how to hunt. You see, but then later on, if she gets into they see another lioness, then they will learn. You see, what is the difference with how to link pragnya and darshan? Right belief. Shayak Samyak Darshan, it is called. Right belief means true vision. I am pure soul vision. And then there is when there's when the ego is gone 100%, then pragna shakti arises. Whereas when the ego intellect is operating, then it is called Sooz. You see, so through ego intellect, the agnya shakti arises. Through egoless state, the pragna shakti arises. To believe anything in the relative to be I or mine, then there is ignorance. And not to believe anything in the relative to be I or mine, it is called the real vision, you see. And then when I am not this, then Pragna Shakti starts. I am not this, I am only the self, only then Pragna Shakti arises. And so, and you see, by through tap or the penance, you see, you keep on letting go of the relative. Therefore, the pragna shakti continues to increases. You see, and the one who believes that this is mine, this is all relative, you see, that one gets slowly into the right belief that no, this is not mine, this is all relative, I am pure soul only, absolute soul only. And so, and therefore, so to believe anything in the relative to be mine, therefore agna shakti, the ignorance energy arises. But to keep it separate, then nothing will arise in the relative. Should, Suj, Ged, Gam, etc. Are they all phases of darshan? These are these are all qualities. Darshan avaran is a quality of the, but it is the darshan is veiled, and therefore there is infinite vision. Infinite vision of the self is veiled, and therefore, as the vision keeps on increasing, then these are phases are coming up. Pariyai are phases. To see is called phases, but you see, one's own darshan avran, the veil over the vision, keeps on decreasing. Pragna is temporary, permanent, asks Sanjay. And pragna exists as long as keval gnan has not happened, absolute knowledge hasn't happened. Once absolute knowledge happens, then prag, prag, pragna's existence is not there. It as long as you are going in the wrong direction, pragna wants you, and then when the awareness becomes 100%, then there is nobody to really warn you, and therefore that is absolute knowledge, absolute. As long as you enter into the non-self in some subtle way or the other, there is the presence of the pragna shakti that will continue to warn you, continue to kind of when all wrong beliefs go away, then pragna also will go away. So is it, can we say that it is relative real? Yes, yes, it kind of clears up the relative and enters into the, it clears the relative and then and remains in the relative and then becomes one with the relative only. You used to believe that I am nada, but no, you're not nada. No, you're not unisi. You are pure soul. You're amapura. You see. It is also Mahatmas. Really, there is don't have any suj only. Really, it is true that Mahatmas no longer have come to the end of suj because now pragna is there. You see. Yes, that is true. Our suj after Gnan Vidhi, our suj ends. You see, but now you have given, so you received the Gnan Vidhi, and you have the 2% experience of the soul, but you have a lot, but you still have the file of Yunis, file of Deepak, file of Shuddha, file of Ove to settle with equanimity, you see, and nothing new is going to increase. There is no, it is all the old stuff is going away. After Gnanvidhi, Such does not exist. It is replaced by Pragnya. And in relative worldly interactions, especially to settle file with equanimity, Such will be helpful at the relative level. You see. But so nothing is going to block your moksha at all. Is Suj Agneya? Is it something to be known? No, no, no. It is not Agneya. Agneya is it's, it's, when Suj increases, one becomes the knower. You see, Suj is part of the light. You see, Suj is never the known. Suj is the light that lets you see. You see, at the relative level, it's called Suj. At the real level, it is called Pragna. As it is on the basis of the vision, one can continue to rise as the Drashta and the Gnata, the seer and the knower. And whatever you see in Suj, that is called the vision, the scene. and you are the knower. So there is a light. There is the light which lets you see, and Sooz is the vision. And this the seer, there is a seer, the drashta, and then the Sooz is the darshan. Sooz is not a discharge. So Sooz, Sooz is neither filling nor emptying, and therefore it is not Pudgal, part of Pudgal. It is Sooz is therefore not part of evidence. Sooz is really not part of the relative in the before the Gnan Vidhi. Actually, it's part of the soul only. But you see, Sooz is not under the influence of scientific circumstantial evidences. Sooz is always there. And then Gnan, after Gnan, it is called Vyavasthit. Gnan is of the soul, and Vyavasthit is the energy that gives you the results. In Aptavani 10, Volume 1, there is an explanation on Sooz. It comes from the heart. It comes from the Pudgal. It is not a phase of the soul. How he's reading Dadashris on Aptavani 10, Volume 1. See, there are two types of Pudgals. One is there is a belief Pudgal, and then there is a subatomic particle Pudgal. Pudgal means it increases and it decreases. You see, it feels I am this, I am an engineer, and then in the next life you are a lawyer, in the third life you are a doctor. You see, they're all levels of development, but it's all part of relative. And there is a different levels of Sooz as a doctor, lawyer, and an engineer in different lives. But it's therefore it's a kind of it's a non-self level only. So he's changing one belief versus another belief only. But up to 299 there is relative. 300 to 359 is the knowledge of the awakened one, and then at 360 degrees the the pragna goes away completely. Right now a child in kindergarten one day will become a PhD. You see, up until as long as he's in university and everywhere, he is still called a student. It's the same development, but he's continuing to develop from first standard, second standard, high school, university. He has got the capacity to become a doctor or a PhD, research scientist, etc. Well, what is going on? It depends. He's in the seventh today. Where is he? Seventh standard, 10th standard, 11th standard, etc. And that is called from at that level. The Gnani calls it Pudgal only, or that means his development is Pudgal means filling and emptying. We call it development. There is the main I is the soul, and then the other one with the I with the wrong belief that I am this, progressively rises higher life after life. You see, now darshan, which is the understanding, darshan multiplied by gnan, the darshan multiplied by gnan and goes into shakti or energy. Darshan means vision, Gnan means experience, and then it comes into charitra. And so when it goes into the conduct as the self, as capital, then it is called charitra. See? And then now Udaseenata is coming. Okay. There is a heading. What is Udaseenata? What is Udaseenata? હું સર્વ પર દ્રવ્યથી સર્વથા ઉદાસીન છું. હું સર્વ પર તત્વથી સર્વથા વિતરાગ છું. In all ways, I am. And there is many times Dada uses par dravyoti, and Dada Shri says sarva par tattva. Now, Gnanvidhi sentences, there are 6 dravyas in spirit, and then there are 9 tattvas, you see, in spiritual language. six dravyas are six eternal elements: soul, matter, you see, motion, inertia, space and time. And they all are, with all of them, the soul is absolutely vitarag. And then there are some nine elements. Then there is then jad, jeev, ajeev, life, no life, pap, punya, mishra, samvar, nirjara, moksha. There are nine tattvas. And see, in the nine elements, he becomes enters into ragdvesh. You see, with ragdvesh. You see, and with rag dvesh, there are the nine tattva, and therefore he is with rag in the nine tattva, with the other eight, and with the other five, he is with rag, you see. In all ways, I am absolutely detached from all the elements that are the non-self. Udasin is not the same thing as udas or sad or gloom, people commonly refer to. Here it means that now I have become the one with the elemental self, swatattva. I do not have a need. I do not have a need for these non-self elements or partattva. That is why the self has udasin bhav, indifference and neutrality, sitting higher than all of this. When one attains the awareness of the infinite splendor of the bliss of the self, then all tendencies that stray outside, bahya vruti, do not happen, and vitarag bhav, the absence of attachment and abhorrence, prevails towards all the matter. Like when you get in relative world, when you take a big loss, or when you lose your status in society, you become sad. But no, that is not what we as udasin. And you don't like life at all afterwards. Yes. But you see, but in the Gnanvidhi, you are already higher than Udasinta. You go beyond Udasinta into I am pure soul, you see. So there is what this Udasinta is a karmic path, you see. When when you do not want anything worldly, but you have not attained the soul, that is when you are in Udasin Bhav, you see. But you see, you have not attained the soul completely yet. You have not attained the soul in the Gnanvidhi, and yet you do not like the world. Then you are in Udasin Bhav, you see. You see, and the day he gets the knowledge and the exact experience of the soul, then then you are past Udasinta, and Udasinta is actually the beginning of Vitarakta, you see. You are past. You see, our Udasinta is not the same. When one attains the awareness of the infinite splendor of the bliss of, then all tendency this and one prevails towards the matter, that is called pardravya. Our udasinta is not the same as the udasinta of the one who does not have self-realization. Ours in akramic jnana is ullasit udasinta. When a wedding is happening in the home of bhagats, in devotional worship and work of God, there is a kind of indifference and apathy, udasinta. That is not how it is. And after attaining the self, Udasinta begins from everywhere first, and then will come the state of Vitarakta. Vairagya is associated with more. Vairagya means dispassion, means when you lose your illusory attachment, then is a sense of dispassion. You see, Vairag. What is the difference between Vairag, Udasinta, and Vitarakta? Deepakbahi is already explaining what Dadashri is going to explain here. Udasinta means Vairagya means you are not interested in worldly things, you see. Vairagya, whereas Udasinta means you are searching for the soul, you are souling for. It is the door that lets you enter into Vitarakta, which is the absolute self state of without any rag or dvesh. સર્વ પર દ્રવ્યોથી સર્વથા ઉદાસીન છું અને સર્વ પર તત્વોથી સર્વ વિતરાગ છું. No, he says, is this what happens? No. He's just describing the karmic path. You see, Dimple is exam. Why is Dada using the word sarvat, par dravya and par tratva? After searching a lot, in other words, jeev, ajeev, asrav, bandh, nirjara, you see, pap, punya, you see, and all of this. Sarva par dravya pratyavidvat. That means vitrag. Tattva. Per dravya pratye udasin, and per tattva pratya vitrag, you see. This is Sarvatha. In other words, per tattva means the 5 eternal elements, and per dravya means the 8 of the 9 eternal things in the relative and the real. For us, how is it? I am pure soul is the answer. So at the Nishchay, as a self, we are at the 12th level of spiritual. But in relative world, we are at, you still believe I am dimple, I am over, I am Eunice, you see? So relatively you are Eunice, but at the real level, you are at the 12th spiritual level of I am absolute pure soul. And so at the relative level, you will have Vairagya, Udasinta, Samabhav, equanimity, you see? But you see, but at the soul, you have become who you really are. And so all of these 5 levels are relative. So you have to ask Dimple, are you hurting anyone? You have to ask Eunice, are you hurting anyone? Are you in suffering? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling jealous, etc.? Are you in competition? Are you in rivalry, etc.? You see, if you do not see the mistakes of anybody else, then you come into higher secondary. And when you become free from doership, then you became in college. And when you really become the pure overseer, then you have come into the PhD level, you see. So it's a 5th, 6th, 7th. By when you finish 7th level, when you are in 7th level, then anger goes away. And then when you come to 9th, then deceit goes away. 10th, that means moha, illusion goes away, you see. We are the ones with the mixed moha. You see, we but by at the relative level, we still are part of the illusory attachment. You see, we like the world as well as we like the soul. You see, so this is the state of Mahatmas: mixture moha, moh for this, and then you'll come into samyaktva moh, means the right vision moh, and then the kshayak samkit moh. These are all relative developments. You see, but at the real level, you are the soul. But in the Kramik, you have to come through all of these stages at the relative level to decrease your moha, the illusory attachment. But in Akram, we have tasted the soul, and therefore, and so we become free from trying to seek new pleasures. And as we settle the pressures of all files with equanimity, then automatically we will have the progressively increasing experience of the soul only. And so therefore we continue to see that this is we through the absolute chamber of the pure soul at the 12th level, you are able to see that the relative is continuing to improve. At the relative level, you used to like certain things, but now you don't even like it. So you progressively seeing that Deepak is becoming less and less interested in these relative levels. You see, I see the one who used to believe the one who is to believe that I am Eunice or I am Uwe, that wrong belief is changing progressively from 301 degree to 320 degrees to 330 degrees to 345 degrees, where he becomes a Gnani at 345 degrees, you see. And he says, Dada Bhagwan is separate, says, I am a Gnani Purush and this person is a Patel, you see. You see, now we are increasing. In the same way, Dada Bhagwan within us is separate. I am a Mahatma. I am increasing my role as a Mahatma. I will end up as a Gnani sometime. And this other person is Shuddha or Uve or Unisi, and that is different. You see, 3 levels. The Vairagya, Udasinta is considered a very elevated state in the Kramik path. Udasinta in the Kramik path means loss of interest in all destructible, Vinashi things, but despite the search for the indestructible, one does not attain it. Kripadudev, Srimad Rajchandra, previous Gnani, 125 years ago, who had a serious Udasinta. You see, he had no interest in worldly life all day long, from morning till evening. He did not like anything that was in front of him. You see, he was married, he had a business of jewelry, etc., but he had no interest in all of that. That is a Kramik path. In page 126, Gujarati, in a Vairagi, on the other hand, the state of not liking is not due to his independent energy. Something is liked and something is not liked, and that is how it is within one with Vairagya, whereas the one with Udasinta has no other interest in anything except the self, you see. He has no, the one with Udasinta just wants to know. He has no interest in any pleasures of the body complex, whether it is sex or money or pride or anything like that. He has no interest. Is ruchi means active interest. Aruchi means no interest. You see, and then and so then once you attain that udasinta in a step by step, then you know, then you will go in the direction of vitrakta, either by the kramic path or by the akram path, and then final station is vitrakta. How can it be understood, questioner, whether vitrakta is prevailing or whether udasinta is prevailing? What is the difference between the two? Dadashri says udasinta means to build a barrier against rag, dvesh, attachment, abhorrence. In Vitrakta, attachment, abhorrence are absolutely absent. First, all the vrittis, tendencies, interests, inclinations become weak in Udasinta. Then the state of Vitrakta arises. Udasinta means like does not arise and dislike does not arise. Questioner, what is it where no joy is felt in any external situation and within there is no attachment and abhorrence? Dadashri says, in the state of Udasinta, there is joy within, but it is not seen outside. Whereas in the state of Vitrakta, there is joy within as well as outside. And joy is bliss. Now, the next heading is called Chapter 9. Pratisthit Atma Shuddhatma. What is the foundation of the world? Pratisthit Atma is the foundation builder. Pratishtha in Pratisthit. That in which the world began, spread and ends. That is called adhishthan. Adhishthan. Pratishtha means adhishthan. Adhishthan means pratisthit atma is the foundation in which things begin, expand, and then come to destruction. I am Chandu. This is my body. I'm a scientist, engineer, doctor, etc. And the one who believes this, and ultimately comes to the belief that I'm pure soul, and then he becomes this pure soul, and as he becomes as that developing soul, then it is until he comes into it, that is called the belief atma, aropit atma, vyavahar atma, nischetan chetan, etc. It is the developing I, and then it kind of falls away. The charging time is called Mr. Chetan, Mr. Chetan, and there's a charge and discharge portions. You see, it has got nothing to do with the original soul only. These are all happening at the relative level or the mix level. He's asking about the Vairagya. Udasinta is part of the Purusharth of a person, whether he's on the Kramic path or the Akram path, whether he's on the, whereas Vairagya or dispassion is a kind of a relative thing which is not part of one's Purusharth before Gnan, whether he's on the Kramic path or on, you see. So it is Udasinta is a very high level of development. Vairagya, one becomes dispassion, one becomes upset because his girlfriend kicked him. You see, so therefore he loses interest in women. That's called Vairagya, for instance. Shuddha giving an example, by the way. And so circumstances bring Vairagya, whereas Udasinta is a spiritual development of a very high level. You see, the one with Udasinta has no ruchi, inclination, deep desire to know the soul and nothing else except the soul. You see, nothing else except the soul. The one with Vairagya may have traces of Ragdvesh, whereas the one with Udasinta is without Ragdvesh. You see, he has no interest in the relative world, but he has not attained the experience of the soul. So day and night is Gnanakshepmant. You see, he is continuously thinking about Gnan. What is Gnan? What is soul? What is soul? What is soul? But he has not attained the experience of the soul. He has not had the beginning experience of the soul also. But when he realizes through the grace of the Gnani Guru that I am not Shuddha, I am not over, I am not Eunice. You see, I'm not Daniele, I'm not Juliana. Then he comes. So Now he's just asking of the last paragraph of what we just read in the last. Yeah, yeah, if people insist, you'll have to come to my birthday party. I'll say, please leave me alone. I don't. Even when he goes, he'll say, what am I doing? All of these people are having the relative worldly parties, but I'm not having any kind of serious interest in this. I don't have any inclination in this. He says, leave me alone. I'd like to go away to a jungle. I like to go away to a Rodovio, retreat. You see, yes. Whatever may happen to the Pudgal, inside there is bliss only. You see, the pain, the body may be in pain, but the person is in bliss. You see, that is the state of the person who is in the person who is in Udaseenata. You see, uh, and in Vitragta especially, there is even if you are being tortured, you see, the body may show expressions of torture. However, inside you are in total bliss. Udasinta means the person with Udasinta says, oh, I do not want to do any more rag or dvesh. I do not want to get any attachment, abhorrence in that which is happening. But the rag dvesh have not gone away in Udasinta. You see, they are not totally gone. Whereas in with ragta, they are totally gone. You see, so Udasinta is the mother of Vitragta. It is, and the ruchi, aruchi. Ruchi means inclination, aruchi means disinclination. You see. It is as if it's happening to the neighbor. Then you don't care what is happening to the neighbor. You are not, you see, it is some kind of an moha, an illusory, a deep attachment to find out what is the true vision, samyaktva. You see, Udansanta can be considered a moh for samyaktva, a deep desire for what is the final truth, what is the real thing. Yes. You see, the problem is that when adversity arises in front, you see, with the desire to run in the direction of pleasure avoids the opportunity for penance. In other words, you see, every day you are getting, taking a beating in the relative life. Adversity arises, but that is a time when there is the opportunity to enter into the door of penance. However, through your intellect and ego and the old desires for pleasure, you enter into, you find out some way of getting more pleasure on, say. So now, Pratishthitatma is the foundation of the belief. What is Pratishthitatma? I am Chandulal, this is my body, this is my mind, this is my mind. By doing such Pratishtha, projection or induction, the Pratisthik Atma is bound, created for the next life. How did it happen? It happened out of ignorance, lack of knowledge of the self, agnan. When Pratishtha done even in an idol gives you fruits, then imagine what kind of fruits or pratishtha like above, done with God present as witness, the self within will give. This pratishthat atma is a new word that I have given you. I have used it so that people can understand in simple language and can easily understand the words of the Lord. Questioner, is pratishthat atma pudgal or chetan? Is the self or the non-self? Non-self or the self? Dadashi, it is pudgal, but it has gained chetan bhav, it has been energized with the energy of the soul. We say that it has been charged. It is Pudgal, but that is the resultant expression of Vishesh Bhava. I am Chandulal, and we call it Mishra Chetan, mixture of the self and the non self. The four natural instincts of food intake, ahar, fear, bhai, sleep, nindra, and sex, maithun, are, are they tubers or are they part of the Pratishthit self? Rather, she says they are not part of the nature of the Pratishthit Atma. The Pratishthit Atma is the form complex of egoism. However, many bhavs, charge intent, were done in the past life, and that many bhavs, discharge intents will arise. Upon seeing food, the tuber of food will sprout. Tuber of fear will arise depending upon the sight of the gun or a stick. The instincts of ahar, bhais, nindra, and maithun exist in the form of tubers that sprout depending upon circumstances. Projection pratishtha of anger, pride, deceit, and greed was done in the pratishtita atma in the last life, and that is why it bears fruits now. Now that you have attained Gnan, Pratishtha has stopped. When people make comments like, my soul is a sinner, it refers to the Pratishthit Atma. The main self is pure soul. Indeed, it has not become impure even for a second. The phases or the pariyaya of the self have become impure by doing the Pratishtha, saying, I am this, this is mine, I am sinned, etc. There is no Pratishthit Atma in charge of karma. In charge, the self is present. There is no Pratishthit Atma in karma. The original self is absolute knowledge only. But you see, but by through the extent where the veils over it break, that by that much the knowledge and the vision arises. From 1 degree to 100 degrees, you see, it arises. The increasing knowledge and vision is called the developing soul. So the self with the knowledge and the vision is increasing. But then there is the ignorance also, and through ignorance one is charging. It says, I am doing this, this is doing, and it charges. And I am doing this, and I am Chandu, and I am doing this. And then with whichever intents are there, that those intentions get charged, and that is called discharge Pratisthit Atma. Okay, discharge Pratisthit Atma, or mechanical Chetan, or discharge Chetan. Okay, whatever once were intent, views, these arise in the discharge. But by believing that this is I, this body is I, Unis is I, Uve is I, and therefore it is in discharge. But when you become free from, if you become free from the Pratisthit Atma, then it is in discharge. Pratisthit Atma is there. In discharge, the Pratisthit Atma is there, but the original self is there. But this is the soul that was charged that is there. You see, you see. What in pote means I, means in Gnan Dasha is I am pure soul, and I am Uve is ignorance. You see, I am pure soul is knowledge. You see, that is called pote. I am is the same, and wherever one is prevailing, that is where he is. Are you the pure soul, or are you the body? You see, and then when he separates, then he says, no, Uve is separate, I am separate. And so the knowledge component keeps on increasing up to 300 degrees, and then it will ultimately come up to 356 degrees. And for Gnani Purush Dadashri, 356 degrees is the Gnani Bhavo. What is the Gnani Bhavo is the same as the awakened one, you see, is the same. Vyavahar Atma and Nishchay Atma is the heading. Questioner. The helpful, that is called Shubh, and the hurtful, the Ashubh intent that happen, who do they happen to? The Pratisthit Atma. Dadashri says, when the Pratisthit Atma does the helpful or the hurtful bhav, at that time it is not regarded as Pratisthit Atma, but it is regarded as a Vyavahar Atma, worldly interacting self. Pratisthit Atma is what is left after attaining the self. You see, it's Pratisthit Atma. That is the one in it which there was soul. You see, if you really want to say it, whoever has got the good and the bad intentions, you see, then that is the worldly interacting self called the Vyavahar Atma. And when you are in the Amapura, when you are the pure soul, then what is remaining in front of you is that which was called the Pratisthit Atma. Because, you see, now, you see, he is believing that I am a passenger in a train, I am a doctor, in front of a patient, I am a husband in front of a woman, etc. You see, this is the worldly intellect Atma, or the Vyavahar Atma, or the belief Atma. But then the ego and the intellect, then therefore the intellect then charges more by saying this is good and this is bad, by saying, and it moves more farther away, saying I like this and I dislike this. The project that was included in the body, Pratishtha with I am this body, this mind, is in the past life. Its result now remains after attaining the self. Before self-realization, the term Pratisthit Atma is inapplicable. The term Vyavaharatma is applicable. So how does Chaitanya Atma become bound with purity, the pure self, when the Vyavaharatma does helpful or hurtful things? Impurity. How does the soul bind impurity when the worldly interacting soul does hurtful intents. Dadashri says when Vyavaharatma does the helpful or the hurtful vows, it is not alone in the process. The Nishchayatma is involved in it with the belief that indeed I am the one, I am doing it. The original self is indestructible and the self is also indestructible and eternal. However, his belief says that I am temporary and therefore he enters into the temporary. The original and the original qualities of the soul, the Gnan, Darshan, Vision, uh, is eternal only. However, because of pressure on the knowledge of the soul, there is, he enters into Vishesh Gnan, extra knowledge, you see. Uh, the original knowledge continues to exist, however, the extra knowledge arises, you see. And really, he is only Chandulal. He is just Uwe of Munich, but he gets, after a few drinks, he becomes the mayor of Munich, you see. And so, therefore, he starts behaving like a mayor of Munich and starts shouting in the streets, I'm the mayor, I'm the mayor, until the alcohol effect goes away and then he becomes Uwe, you see. But he continues to be Uwe, but he was behaving like the mayor of Munich when he was drunk, you see. He was under the influence of some other energy. And therefore, so at the worldly interacting level, so the worldly on the basis of the worldly interaction, he believes I am this world, you see. But really, he is the Nishchayatma, which is the self only. The knowledge belongs to the Nishchayatma only, the pure self only, absolute, you see. The knowledge under the influences of pressure and vibhav, under the influences of pressure, becomes over. I'm over, you see. Agnan comes on, you see. And the agnan means ego arises, you see. I am over, I am unisi, you see. And when he comes back, oh, I'm pure soul, I'm not unis. You see, so worldly interacting self will ultimately end up as a pratishthit atma. You see, in other words, a new pratishtha will form, a new installation of life. You see, now if there's a laborer, he's a common laborer, and he sees a person laying bricks. You see, so then he'll say, if I, the job of a bricklayer is very nice. So in the next life, he will become the bricklayer in the bricklayer. And today he's a bricklayer, but then he sees the contractor and he says the contractor's job is so good, he just gives orders. But you see, so his work, but today's knowledge is his and today's knowledge and conduct as a bricklayer is on the basis of the belief of the past life. You see, of his pratishtha, of his installation, of his intentions of a previous life. You see. This is a Nishchayatma and Vyavaratma. Nishchayatma is knowledge, Gnan, and Vyavaratma is Agnan, you see, ignorance, you see. And you see. So now the Nishchay self, the knowledge arises through meeting a Gnani, and ignorance arises when ignorance arises out of the wrong belief and the pressures of the circumstances on the non-self, that is on that which is in front of you. Questioner, what is Nishchayatma? Dadashri, Nishchayatma means Shuddhatma, pure soul, Rhinocele. It is like this. Vyavaratma is the doer, Karta in the worldly interaction, Vyavar. And with the view of the self, Nishchay, the self is the non-doer, akarta. Questioner, but the Nishchayatma is the doer of the bhav, is it not? Rather, she says, it is not the doer of the bhav either. The doer of the bhav is the prevailing ignorance, agnanta, small a, G capital, agnanta. When does the bhav arise? Bhav and abhav, attraction and repulsion, positive and negative, happens, positive view, happens when there is ignorance of the self. Does bhav exist where there is gnan? Rather, she says, there is no bhav at all where there is gnan. Where there is Gnan, there is Swabhav Bhav, awareness of the self. And where there is Agnan, ignorance, there is Bhav. Where there is Mithyatva, wrong belief, I am Chandulal, there is Bhav or Abhav, not where there is Samkit, right belief, I am pure soul. Questioner, Bhav abhav happens only when Gnani is present, does it not? Yes, bhav abhav happens only when the self is present. Bhav abhav does not happen to this tape record. Did bhav abhav arise because the pure self did the parlaksh, awareness of the non-self? New word, Dadashri says the pure self never did parlaksh, never had any intentions to take on the non-self. The pure self verily remains as the pure self, continuously with none, absolutely with none. It knows the awareness of even the non-self, per laksh or per prakashak, and knows who does the you see, Uwe, when under in the circumstances of alcohol, says, "I am the mayor of Munich." In other words, an external circumstance of alcohol makes Uwe say that I am the mayor. You see, the belief therefore becomes wrong under the influence of the alcohol, and therefore there is a vibhav, a new vibhav. Even though Uwe remains as the Uwe, a new mayor arises because of the wrong vision. You see, the vibhav is called the vibhav. There is a belief atma, there is a belief atma, belief soul versus that. Belief soul means I am this body, and the belief soul also believes I am pure soul. You see, now decides in the I am this body is Vyavar Atma, I am pure soul is pure soul Atma, you see. And when in this the charge Atma is at the time of charging, it is called worldly interacting self or Vyavar Atma, and in discharge it is called Pratisthit Atma, you see. In other words, is when it is just discharging, in front of. As long as you are traveling, you see, in a train, you are with your wife, you are still the husband and you are also a passenger, are you not? You see, because you are a passenger, but you are also a husband of your wife, you see. You are a passenger. When you come home, then you are the husband only. You're no longer a passenger, but you're now at home, you're a husband. When you go to bed and you are asleep, then you are neither a husband nor a body. You are totally in a different world, are you not? So you're never a passenger forever, are you not? So passenger is the belief portion. Passenger is the belief soul. And therefore Dadashri calls it the Pratishthitatma. He believes whatever he had believed, that is now is coming up. Pratishthitatma means he ends up as a patient in a hospital, he ends up as a satsangi in Germany, he ends up as a husband in front of Marian, etc. See, that was the pratishtha that was done, the charging that was done in last life, and now he is the pratishtita atma. You see, he is the worldly interacting self. A very fine slice between the worldly interacting self or Vyavar atma. You see, pratishtha. It is the internal component. It is a. You see,